HBCUs have been really pillars of the African American community for more than 150 years. Amazing job. And a grand and enduring symbol of America at its absolute best, and I congratulate you all to say that.
Thank you.
With this executive order, we will make HBCUs a priority in the White House, an absolute priority.
All right.
All right, folks, of course, that was at the White House on Monday when a number of HBCU presidents were in town meeting with the Trump administration. The next day, South Carolina Senator Tim Scott and North Carolina Congressman Mark Walker hosted a day-long conference at the Library of Congress with those same presidents. Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, also attended. Representatives from Boeing, Michelin, and Northrop Grumman discussed efforts to recruit students from HBCUs. The event on Capitol Hill was the first event of its kind, even beyond the 8 years of President Obama's term. Republicans were quick to point that out.
According to HBCUs, under the Obama administration, they lost about $160 million because of the Parent Plus loans and other administrative decisions. And here you have an opportunity to connect with the leaders of all three levers of government, the White House, the Senate, and the House, all run by Republicans. This is a good opportunity for HBCUs to understand and appreciate the necessity of working with us, and for us to understand the necessity of working with HBCUs.
Tell us, what are the big regulatory barriers that are making it harder for you to stretch that education dollar further? What we're worried about is we pump a dollar into the educational system, so much of it gets consumed and caught up with regulatory costs, and just pennies on that dollar go to the actual education of that student. Where can we get at that dollar that gets wasted from here to the education?
For me, it's personal. People say, well, you know, what are Republicans doing and connecting and all this? Well, for my wife, who did her undergraduate and graduate work for Winston-Salem University, and she has worked even in management there at Wake Forest Baptist Medical Center. So we've seen firsthand the good work and the good education that HBCUs offer. And one of the things that we're doing today is making sure that people are seeing really the history.
And guess who also spoke to them? Education Secretary Betsy DeVos. She delivered a keynote address at the lunch. This was, of course, after she came under fire after calling African American pioneers in school choice when black students were being turned away from white schools. Senator Scott says DeVos could have been a bit more articulate.
Is there a better way to word things? Yes. I think at the end of the day, that's my only response is clarity in your statements is always important.
Yes, clarity is kind of important. Now, DeVos apologized, saying, quote, your history was born not out of mere choice, but out of necessity in the face of racism and in the aftermath of the Civil War. HBCUs remain at the forefront of opening doors that had previously been closed to so many. You made higher education accessible to students who otherwise would have been denied the opportunity, end of quote. And she also followed that up with a variety of tweets as well. All right, let's go with our panel here. All right, Ralph, so you heard Senator Tim Scott talk about interfacing with levels of government. Here's the real question. Had a meeting in the White House, fine. Met with Trump in the Oval Office about 15 minutes. There was not actually a meeting with him. The meeting was with Vice President Mike Pence. Another meeting was with Reince Priebus, the Chief of Staff, Kellyanne Conway, Steve Bannon, and others. The question is here. When the Trump administration submits their budget, are they going to put more money into HBCU? Do you believe they will?
I believe they will. And as we've said before, you know, the devil is always in the details, and, you know, the proof is in the pudding and at the bottom line. But one thing that I think we can say is a positive is that the HBCU initiative is now housed within the White House, which will raise its importance, raise its stature, so that I honestly believe that, yes, we will see funding increases to HBCUs, more access to grants, to research opportunities. I fully expect that to happen. But I will agree with you. The devil is going to be in the details, and we'll have to wait and see.
Giuliani, you ran HBCU, okay, and look, and other presidents have had the White House, the HBCU initiative housed inside of the White House, but still, does that automatically mean more funding, more resources?
Not at all. First of all, the White House initiative on HBCUs has a skeletal staff. staff. So whether they're in the Department of Education or in the White House, if they have a skeletal staff, they have a skeletal staff. There has to be a bigger appropriation for the White House initiative so that they can hire people. When I think back under Bill Clinton's administration, there was a woman named Catherine LeBlanc who went to every federal department and harassed the you-know-what out of them to make sure that a percentage of their spending went to HBCUs. We haven't seen that happen since then.
Now, so according to Omarosa Manigault, who was on, we had her on yesterday, part of this executive order will also call for federal agencies to do something similar to that with HBCUs.
I saw that provision in the executive order, but it doesn't have any numbers or anything around it. It just says we'll endeavor to work together, and that was in previous executive orders as well. You know, this is an interesting moment because HBCUs, Roland, have always been low-hanging fruit for Republicans. In other words, we've seen Republican presidents do very well by HBCUs because who's going to fight about higher education except for silly, you know what, Betsy DeVos. But so we've seen HBCUs do very well because they're going to do that, but they're not going to do any number of other things that might be on the list of a black agenda. And they'll always say, you know, we've done this for HBCUs. In addition, as Tim Scott said on the tape, this time around they can compare themselves to President Obama and say they did better than Obama, but that's a very low bar.
And again, Faraji, I mean, bottom line is, I mean, I know for a fact that this is one of the things that a number of black Republicans made clear to the Trump administration that they want to be able to have this as a win.
Right.
Because that, look, it was very contentious between HBCUs and the Obama administration when you get the president himself tell the Congressional Black Caucus that if these schools can't graduate these kids, they should shut down. That ticked off a whole lot of Black Caucus members who were stunned when he actually said that. And so for the Trump administration, if they're able to come through with more resources, it benefits the universities. They get a feather in their cap saying we did better than Obama. Right. But the point that I keep making, this is where people keep being critical of the presidents for going there. The responsibility of the HBCU presidents is the exact same as the presidents of Stanford, Texas A&M, and other universities that rely on research dollars. We are constituents. It does not matter who is sitting in the Oval Office.
I agree.
They should be demanding more, no matter who occupies the White House. Your thoughts?
Real quick, President Obama, they said that he gave $4 billion over a 7-year period. What these HBCU presidents are now requesting is $25 billion.
Which is what Hillary Clinton actually proposed in the campaign.
Right, absolutely. But I agree with you, Brother Roland. One of the things that we have to look at, and I think Ms. Rosalind Artis, who's the president of Florida Memorial, she said that we're appealing to the business sense of the president and his administration. That doesn't sound good to me because it still puts us in a very servitude position where we're waiting on the benevolence of a white president, black person, or somebody in federal government to do for us what we could do for ourselves. What's happening with the alumni? What's happening with the other resources of the student body that is able to contribute to the HBCUs to make them stronger again, where they don't have to go to the White House with their hat in hand, hoping for a handout.
But they should be going to the White House, to the Congress, and the Senate, because Harvard, Yale, Princeton, MIT, they get hundreds of millions of dollars. In fact,
but not in this style.
But in fact, if they wanted to be, if this White House executive order was effective, they would mandate all these major research universities to partner with HBCUs.
But again, let me say this to all the black folks who are watching. We are constituents. We are taxpayers. We should be demanding of any Republican or Democratic president, Congress, governor, state legislature, county commission, city as well when it comes to the resources. So just because 94% of black women voted for Hillary Clinton over Donald Trump, just because you had 91% of, actually about 88% of black men who did, we are still constituents. Get the money. Don't mean we agree on 10 issues, but give them hell on 9 and say, fine, we want the money on 1. A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. Your hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not gonna let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally.
What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.